So thanks for coming. I'm Viktor Tron, and I'm going to talk about the incentive system for Swarm. I hope that you came with the conviction that Swarm is already having a pretty good incentive system, which is making it economically self-sustaining. But it's not only that; it doesn't only make it only economically self-sustaining, but it's actually optimizes somehow the allocation of physical resources, primary physical resources, such as bandwidth, disk space, and more like I/O and CPU. I'm going to concentrate on the first two. So the smooth operation of Swarm crucially hinges on the bandwidth incentives because of the forwarding of and relaying of messages. However, storage incentives serve to make sure that of data durability. It's kind of a novel term usually used for availability guarantees in long-term storage. So contributing your bandwidth to the Swarm network constitutes relaying messages to peers for others' sake. Such a relayed send is a major importance in Swarm since it uses the recursive routing scheme called forwarding Kademlia. Kademlia routing is often used in distributed hash tables, the EHTs for short, but it's usually used in a very different way than Swarm. Usually it's used in iterative fashion, that the peers are kind of dialing up ever closer peers to the address, the information about which the DHT stores and they want to know about. Instead of directly doing this iteration, often repeatedly to find the nodes online because it's not guaranteed, a Swarm node maintains a particular set of connections, peer connections, that are keep-alive connections, and therefore can already rely on the availability of peers, and also it makes it possible to outsource the problem of finding the closer peers. And therefore it's kind of the message is traveling through a chain of ever closer peers to the actual destination where the retrieval happens, for example, for a Swarm chunk, like for a piece of data. However, the keep-alive connection also can remember the request for the duration of this request-response round trip, and therefore it can keep that stream open, and also makes it possible to remember that you only do the accounting act or the action of accounting for that bandwidth sharing event when the response is of when the response is satisfactory. So this is kind of an act of instant gratification which is available there, and they have the accounting for the relaying is in quasi real time. So whether performing this request to yourself or for your upstream stake is left in ambiguity, which essentially keeps the identity of the request originator not known, or in fact, in ambiguity. And ultimately kind of enables private browsing. It's a very important privacy feature. And let me make a shameless plug here about my talk on Thursday. It's going to be at the Web3 Privacy Now event, meetup. And it's about the privacy features of Swarm. It's a kind of rather strong value proposition, mainly focusing on private download and upload, censorship resistance, and private messaging. You can usually just say signal on Swarm. So let's concentrate on the rest. So for the bandwidth incentive, there's a few other factors. For example, secondly, due to Kademlia topology, the forwarding requests sent to a few faraway peers are frequent on their own because there's many of those requests. Like, so for example, if your node starts in the 0 bit, then of course half of the chunks have, because it's uniform distribution of the hashes, has 1 bit. So you're going to send quite a lot of requests to your 0 bin in terms of if you count the bins according to proximity order. So that means that it's quite a lot of them. On the other hand, if you go to closer bins, then they are counterbalanced. This traffic is counterbalanced by the number of chunks that upstream peers send you as a request. As it turns out, actually, it can be calculated that gives you a balanced load across logarithmic distance bins, and effectively load balancing requests with a peer connected are they load balanced when the number of peers is constant in every bin. That means that ultimately the variation of give and take is expected to have the same difference, the same variance, constant variance a priori in every bin, and actually it makes it possible. So the overall amount of total number of peers that you expect is as usually in Kademlia a constant in every bin. So altogether it's kind of logarithmic in the size of the network. Why is it important? It's important because this number, since the peers are logarithmic that you kind of interact with, it makes it possible to maintain a micropayment-like settlement system with the peers that is kind of like a payment channel, some sort of payment channel service. Accounting then enables this service of service exchange, allowing peers to kind of spare monetary compensation of any sort if their provision and the amount they consumption and provision kind of somehow balanced or within a particular threshold of balance. Also, so due to the balanced throughput across connections, peer-to-peer accounting of each peer connection by default of constant variance. And if that becomes excessive, like quantifiable with this threshold, then that is settled, the debt is settled by sending a check to the creditor peer. The checkbook contract, which is a smart contract on the EVM blockchain, manages the redemption of the debt by allowing only the last checks to be cashed. So it allows for a kind of cumulative accounting. If, on the other hand, if in the case the peer fails to comply with their obligation to send the check with the right amount, then one can just disconnect directly, again, some sort of instant gratification here. Why is this important? This whole thing was actually invented, with the foresight that transaction costs might vary, and we don't really want to kind of deal with them. So accounting profit offers service or service exchange, which is then no compensation happens, regular off-chain acknowledgement of that with the checks, and allowing the flexibility of on-chain redemption at the pace that the beneficiary wants, basically waiting for the transaction costs to be low enough to make it feasible. And that's the onus is on them to interact with the blockchain actually. So why overall the swap protocol, which you see that it's an abbreviation of many things, provides a fair compensation scheme to solve the incentivization of bandwidth sharing. Actually we had this solution already 7 years ago. That's the honest truth, and the inventor of that solution is sitting right there in the middle of the room, and I hope you don't mind me pointing out. And the alternatives that connect directly to these random peers on the basis of need, like in iterative Kademlia, kind of lack these alternatives lack the repeated dealings grounds for the continued channel security, and also the impending disconnection, and therefore. To enforce this compensation, must find a way to provide third-party proofs for data transfer. And funnily enough, this kind of this third-party proof to provable data transfer is also known as the unicast problem. Cryptographers think that it's an unsolvable problem. It's quite interesting that although it's a 7-year-old story, it's actually becoming more and more recognized as maybe the solution for this problem. And last but not least, the checkbook, which is one half of a payment channel, so enables you to earn without having a contract deployed on your side, because you can just earn checks by providing the service without having the contract. So this opens the possibility for a zero ether, zero cash entry to the system, basically bootstrapping your way into crypto directly. So it's also quite an interesting aspect. Okay, let's go to storage now. So it seems that storage is, of course, it's a very different type of animal, because with storage, it's kind of promissory contract in a way, so instant gratification is not available, and therefore storage incentives are a bit more involved. Swarm implements a positive incentivization system at the protocol level. What does it mean? It means that it's going to reward, the farmers, the storers, with some tokens. I will tell you how. But of course, no one's head falls if chunks are missing. It seems that it's quite robust, though. So first, how does the money get into the system? So users that intend to store on Swarm anything buy postage stamps in bulk. So purchasing this so-called postage batch on the blockchain from a contract. And this kind of postage batch is more like a hot wallet, where you keep an amount of money. And of course, the validity of the stamp, so it expires when the account goes to zero in the balance. And in the meanwhile, regular intervals, the storage rent is deduced from the amount, decreasing the amounts available. However, the price can change so it can actually easily happen that the value increase of that holding on the hot wallet is actually always keeps it afloat. So in fact, the same promise as Arweave makes with pay once, store forever actually can happen on Swarm just by if it happens to be the case, that's the point. But it's never a promise, and you can always top it up to avoid loss, etc. If it hits the fan. So what are postage stamps after all? So postage stamps are basically serve to protect against spamming, free riding, and also express a priority of retention in case some chunks need to be deleted from a node's reserve due to capacity shortage. And the storage slots in a batch, which is like a bulk purchase of stamps, basically, so the storage slots are organized in kind of buckets, which are disjoint neighborhoods of the address space, and they need to match the chunk address that a postage stamp is attached to, need to match this kind of bucket, and the bucket index is just counting how many stamps you can issue in a particular bucket of the batch, and so this is what exactly enforces load balancing, which is made possible, of course, in the first place by allowing a hash address, which is anyway uniform in distribution, but this is enforcing it, because obviously, in certain formats, of course, chunks can be, or pieces of data can be mined, and if you can, you could, and if you didn't care about these slots being uniformly distributed, so, or like roughly uniformly, then you could just spam a neighborhood and bring the prices up for that neighborhood, or however it would be expressing the disbalance in their storage. So storage batches are stored on the blockchain and various sizes, and the batch balance can also be topped up, and it's essential to prolong the storage. The stamps allow the peer-to-peer system to offer a genuine cloud storage service, and since the price is always optimal, so the users in a way optimal because it's so always optimal. Users don't need to speculate on the future price of storage and the token volatility if they use this, because and this is also very important to think about this as not a marketplace. It's very important that it's not a marketplace in a sense. So you're not actually looking to get individual contracting with the storage provider like it is on Falcon and other platforms. It's actually a proper peer-to-peer cloud service where the provision of storage is actually going to deterministically random selection of space. Deterministically random because it's a result of a hash, and matching the hash with your node address is what entitles you to, or actually obliges you to store stuff. Now, the revenue coming from the storage rent, that is, I said that's regularly deduced from rent, is going towards a reward pot, which is redistributed to storers as part of a so-called redistribution game. So the redistribution game is played in rounds, happening every 152 blocks on the Gnosis chain. It's orchestrated by a suite of smart contracts on the EVM on this chain. Each round consists of 3 phases, as you see. You know, this kind of tries to display this. The 3 phases are commit, reveal, and claim. These are named after the transactions that the storer nodes typically send to this smart contract. The first 2, the commit and reveal, they correspond to standard commit reveal scheme, to which the participants are able to secretly submit their take or their view on a data set that's to be stored and replicated in their neighborhood. So the redistribution gamers must first agree or have consensus over the data set that they need to store, which is not so. In case of, for example, if you talk about Ethereum blobs, that's a bit different because Ethereum blobs are explicitly sanctioned by the consensus already, and therefore their storage is based on their hash only to check. Here it's a bit more involved because here it's the users are directly communicating through their postage stamp they attach to the chunks that they want things to be stored. So after the reveal phase ends, the random address is chosen that anchors this neighborhood, the chosen neighborhood, and of course they commit to this shelling game. Basically, the peer that is storing the chunks in the chosen neighborhood go through all the chunks and recalculate their hash based on it's like using a modified hash that uses a random nonce, basically that allows you to check that the calculation is recent. They go to all the chunks and select the 16 smallest hash values. It's a bit too technical, but this is important to say because often people think that this sampling is the same as kind of availability sampling in that sense. This sampling part is is much more because already it assumes that you went through the data. And if you come to the same sample, then the idea is that your take on the data is roughly the same as the others that agree with you on the sample. And after the commit reveal scheme it guarantees that what you need to store is under consensus. And after the reveal phase ends, the random address is chosen out of the neighbor to be the true stellar. So basically, they are the ones whose take on the data we're going to accept. And the random node is known after the previous round's reveal phase, as I said. So each node will have basically 3/4 of the round to complete their sampling because they have the previous claim round, and then till the end of the commit round to commit their sample. Now after that, from the true stellars, there's also the same nonce is used to select a winner. So in the next round, and that basically selects who's the winner, who needs to submit the claim after all. And the claim is submitted to guarantee that there's no nonsense, basically. So the game here is orchestrated by these four contracts. The postage stamp contract is what sells the batches, maintain this list of valid stamps, and collect the storage rent and amounts deposited towards the reward pot. And the staking contract is just a registry participation with, I mean, it's going to be modified to have a smart neighborhood management, which maintains a balanced set of peers, and also takes care of the freezing, which when the peers was unable or unwilling to be part of the sharing consensus. So when they were either saboteurs, not revealing their commit, or they were liars, that they revealed the commit that was not the truth. In order to win, the claimant, as I said, there's a claim phase. So when they submit the claim, the claimant must submit a proof of entitlement to the redistribution contract, which is then checked meticulously. So here's the aspects of the proof of entitlement is kind of eightfold. The three of them already happens kind of in the commit phase, when you can already check whether someone is replicating the sharing game in a way, and then the redundancy, or at the reveal phase, sorry. You check there's a weak condition of redundancy, which is based on the staking, and so most of your probability of being selected for truth telling and for claim is based on your stake. At the moment, it will be slightly changed. And then after the first three, the next five is really part of the claim. So relevance, retention, recency, retrievability, and enough resources. Enough resources means that we actually check that those values that you actually have in the sample is estimated to be chosen from what size of a big sample, because this is a density-based size estimation that we have a kind of complex math behind a relatively simple concept of kind of estimating how big your sample was. Now, so negative incentives. Just a few words before I conclude. That negative incentives, can be completely implemented on top of this as an external system, because it doesn't actually need to change the underlying protocol level system, so the protocol of this chunk store, which is the basis of Tron. But it might be actually motivated by certain problems with the positive incentive. If you think that it can have a tragedy of commons problem, which means that if no one heads fall, if a chunk goes missing, then overall the system might not be too strongly motivated. Although in Tron there's many ways to make sure that in every neighborhood there's enough storage nodes to store stuff for positive incentive, etc. But it might be true. So in the case of negative incentives, of course, you have you can think of it as a non-compensatory insurance. Non-compensatory because obviously you cannot insure your stuff for what it's worth, because you can't get it back. But it can be challenged, and then the deposit or proper stake that the negatively incentivized peers would put up, they would lose. And here's just maybe I conclude with these three properties. So most importantly, this is also not a marketplace, in the sense that insurers are also provided by a decentralized service network, basically global deterministically random assignment of the insurance problem to a peer. And it also of course assumes load balancing, etc. And the other two very interesting stuff is that here we separate the insurer from the actual storer in the positive incentive network, and therefore disallow withholding attack. So withholding attack is a kind of driven attack when your insurer kind of withholds the retrievability of a chunk and only puts it up on the blockchain when challenged. They don't gain too much from this, but actually it can be a real pain. So it's like not providing storage. However, if parts of the insurance that you actually pay for the batch, pay for the storage batch that holds it, and plus you can make sure that the chunk was already at the place when the insurer got hold of it, then it can actually prevent withholding attack, and if the self-enforced keeping alive of the badge, doesn't happen. Sorry, then it can be then the peer can be robbed of their stake again, and therefore you cannot do it cheaply. And as last thing, of course, the postage stamps are often used as a bit of a critical weight about Tron, because it seems to leak at least the common ownership as well as the co-constituency of the files by if you sign the same postage batch, and even though you might not be able to track where it's coming from due to this kind of anonymous property of uploads, but you can still trace it to the same origin. And interestingly, this new idea is to introduce a service like a stamp mixer, which kind of issues the stamps as part of the insurance, and kind of mixes them from various real uploaders, and that would completely anonymize the original ownership. And here I will conclude, and thanks a lot. I hope you go away with realizing that Tron has a lot of potential in the decentralized storage, because of its quite thorough incentivization system that keeps it economically self-sustaining. Thank you.